I'm going to address this talk as a example of what we can do. We're all highly educated people, and we're capable of creating the future we want. And with that, I'll start my talk. Let's see. And it's working, good. So I'm going to identify a problem, one solution. Note it's a solution, not the solution that I'm talking about, which refers back to a previous talk. And also lessons we are learning. We're in the process of learning this. We've been designing products for low-income people in developing countries for 5 or 6 years now, and we've learned a lot along the way, and we're still learning, which is really wonderful job to have. Okay, the problem that we've identified is that 80% of the world's population is poor. Quite possibly after listening this week, we know that more people will be poor. Moreover, 50% of the world's population is very poor, making less than $2 a day. Okay, that's 4 billion people making a very small amount of money. This, by the way, is a picture of a slum dwelling in the Managua City dump. One of our goals, my goals, is to work with people in the Managua City dump to design new products that will improve the quality of life collaboratively with them. We work with our clients when we design new products. This is an interesting model of the economy. This is an economist's model of the economy. It shows that there's a lot of poor people and relatively few rich people. But notice it's a linear model of the economy. As you get more income, there's fewer people, but it's a straight line. This is what, oh, I'm forgetting the name, Steve was talking about, is that economists are using linear models when really we need to be using calculus and the modeling of flow. I actually made a different model of the economy. This is showing people lifting up the actual economic pyramid. This is doing this, maybe lifting the pyramid. And it shows that there's actually fewer rich people and there's a lot more poor people on the planet, which is much more accurate. And then my background's I'm a recovering architect and a mathematician, and I now am a product designer. And I said, well, why don't we apply some mathematical rigor to this model and see what it really looks like? And the economic pyramid looks like this. If it's 2 football fields wide at the base and 1 inch tall for every $10,000 in income per person per year, most of the people live in the bottom disk, under $10,000 a year. So that's the bulk of the population. And the next level up gets the next $20,000 a year people and 30,000. And actually, this is highly exaggerated just to show that it isn't just it's a disk with a line coming out the top of it. It's actually 22.5 miles tall if you give 1 inch for every $10,000 in income. And it collapses, it collapses to a disk, to a line very quickly. Almost everybody's in the first 10 inches. That's the 90% of the planet. There's 10% of the planet that are in the spike. So we create economic models that influence. This is what everybody thinks of this pyramid as being the way the economy is. It's not. It's a thumbtack. I wish Steve was here because I knew he'd take that from me. I'd give it to him. So we design empowerment and opportunity by creating new green products that improve the quality of life for people. We work with our clients to do this. Our designs are affordable, they promote economic growth, they improve the quality of life, and they create opportunity, not charity. There's not enough charity in the world to give people stuff. So we create things that are affordable to the people who make $2 or less per day. So the cost of things is very important to us. Appropriate technology is environmentally responsible technology that provides opportunity for people to better their own lives. We work with people who want to do this. We have highly motivated clients. Here are some examples of appropriate technology. This gentleman lives in Africa. He built a windmill for his family because they don't have electricity. He found a book on renewable energy and fell in love with the concept and built a windmill for his family. There's a great picture of William standing next to his father who's holding a transistor radio, and he can listen to the radio for the first time in his life, and that's connectivity. This whole internet thing for us, it's a transistor radio for some people. Solar, everybody thinks solar costs a lot of money. Well, this is a solar panel. It's just a piece of bent up pipe in a box spray painted black. That's about 80% efficient at converting sunlight to heat. Okay? So solar panels, photovoltaic solar panels are not as efficient, but you can convert sunlight to heat really efficiently. And the guy on your right, my left, he's able to, this is the type of people we run into all around the planet. He can go into a junkyard and he can pull out enough pieces of scrap metal and wire to make a welding rig. Okay? I can't do that. Most people in this room can't do that. He started his own welding business, fabricating steel, from being able to build his own welding rig. Now he actually makes welding rigs for other guys, and he's sort of a business incubator in Africa. We find highly motivated, highly intelligent design professionals around the world. I mean, if you see him as a peasant trying to do something, you're not going to get there. But if you see that man as a highly motivated entrepreneur who's capable of creating new value, then you're in for making new technologies. Here are some examples of appropriate technologies that are not ours. This is a system. This is a 1-cent AIDS test, by the way, and a variety of other biomedical technologies. You dip paper that has reagents in it into a fluid you want to test. And the fluid goes through different channels and through different, you can have 5 or 6 chemicals in line, one after the other, to create, then you can see this little tree here. It puts a little color at the end of it. And if it's blue, it's one condition. If it's blue, you have AIDS. If it's red, you don't, or something. But it's a very inexpensive test. This is a whole lab on a piece of paper. They print them like stamps. They tear one out. They put it in. It's a penny to do a test. On the right is a person drinking water out of a puddle. Everybody in this room, the problem is, I've tried to say this in terms of problems and solutions. The problem is that when people are moved because of famine, moved because of ecological change, or due to war, they end up in camps in places where there may not be a supply of water. There may not be a safe supply of water. Everybody in this room, if you hadn't had water in 6 days, you would drink water out of a mud puddle. Every person here. And this life straw filters the water so you can drink out of a mud puddle. It filters the particulate matter out, and it also filters out and kills bacteria and viruses. So it's perfectly safe drinking water. And you can just hand these things out. They're relatively cheap to make in refugee camps so that people who are going to go out and drink water from a puddle don't kill themselves doing it. We have a different technology that we're working on. It's a little more robust. It handles 2 liters of water at a time. Okay, so most of our designs are licensed Creative Commons. We design really cool new products, which you'll see, we give them away. This way, we're in 23 different countries right now. We're a very small nonprofit in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We have an office in Guatemala, a presence in Nicaragua, and we just started working in India. But we're in 23 different countries because we give our designs away online. One of our first projects was a LED replacement for kerosene lamps. 1.6 billion people on the planet. This is the problem. 1.6 billion people don't have electricity. Everybody wants to see at night. They light their homes with kerosene and candles. Kerosene and candles are, you burn a lot of fuel, you get very little light. We can replace that with a solar panel and LED lights. It saves about 750 pounds of carbon dioxide per household per year from the atmosphere. Okay, our goal is 1 million households, so that's 1 million times 750, which is a very big number, of carbon dioxide not going into the atmosphere. So we're creating some sort of benefit to the environment, while at the same time employing people in the country where these technologies are to be used. We ship raw materials to the country, and then they assemble light fixtures. They don't make LEDs in Guatemala, but we can ship them there, and then the rest of this material we can find. And that was our first light. It was branded by the engineering firm that we were working with, which was really cool because they took ownership of it and took off with it. It's installed in many houses. This is one of the engineers from Shayla Teco we work with in Guatemala, a very young, motivated, out to change the world, make the world a better place engineering firm in Guatemala. And this is my friend Carlos. And the benefits of the solar lighting system are that the women in Guatemala are able to do weaving and needlepoint in the evening for the first time. A couple hours of work per night, making something that they can sell in the market. The kids do their homework at night for the first time. The kids are doing better in school. We've studied this. The families have more money. They spend 60 to 80 cents a week on kerosene. Our lighting system costs 50 cents a week, so they save money from the first week they own it. After 3 years, they own it outright. And then they're saving that whole 60 to 80 cents a week, which for some of our clients is a 25% increase in disposable income. So the kids do better in school. The families have more money. They're actually planning on sending their daughter, one of the families is planning on sending their daughter to trade school, which is the equivalent of sending your kids to college. So that's out of poverty in one generation because they got one light. The world shouldn't be so cruel as to have that differential in it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. But it does, and we can do it. We can make the world a better place through this introduction of this technology. We're actually training 16 people in Guatemala this spring in how to design and install solar systems for people's houses, starting 16 small businesses. This is our new system. It has that's actually a mason jar with a light in it. Solar panels, voltage controller. We have a high efficiency commercial circuit board. We actually designed circuits for this originally, but now we are using the a commercially available product. It's less expensive than our own design. But this is what the students are all going to be learning in Guatemala this year is how to design and install these systems. Another technology we came up with, the problem is that people, rural farmers around the planet, live in hundreds of millions, live in climates where there's a wet season and a dry season, and they can only grow crops about a third of the year. If they had a pump, they could pump water up from either a river or from the aquifer, and they could have enough water. These are typically a couple acre farms down to a 1 acre farm. They'd have enough water to grow higher value crops. They could control the amount of water that goes on their crops, so they could get 3 crops per year in most of these places. And a farmer can triple their income and essentially work their way out of poverty in a year by having a treadle pump. We decided to open source the treadle pump design. And we had a group of students from the University of Michigan come down to Guatemala and work on this. And this is the first generation of the treadle pump. This group of students has independently gone on and designed a second and third generation of this treadle pump. But it's a pump that works like a stair-step machine, and you pump water. Farmers make a lot more for their crops. They can grow tomatoes and things that they can sell to restaurants rather than just grains or squash by having a treadle pump. This is our most popular design, 5 minutes, I'm really behind here. We did a solar refrigerator for vaccine storage. All vaccines that need to be refrigerated, over half of them spoil in Africa before they're ever administered. And we had a group of students come into Guatemala, work at the workshop, and they designed and built a solar vaccine refrigerator. It does not use electricity of any kind. It has no moving parts. You put it in the sun and it freezes stuff. A group of students came down from Michigan State to Guatemala and built that in 4 days. Can you build a refrigerator from scratch in 4 days? No, no one can. They can. It's our second most popular design. We did a water supply for a village in Guatemala. We wanted to do some economic development projects with them. We're actually doing another project with them now, but we had to fix the water supply because no economic development would take place if they didn't have a reliable supply of water for the village. So we worked on water supply. This is our team. This is a team from Rutgers University in the center there, these 3 kids, I call them. The team from Rutgers was 2 people from India, 1 person from Peru, and 1 person from China. The people in the village referred to them as the Americans. And I felt so proud by that. Wouldn't you feel proud that they think America is a place where everybody is so multicultural here? I want that country. So we're working on new projects that have to do with empowerment of people through really taking control of their own energy. A woven wind turbine. We're using native weaving technology to create a wind turbine. The women in Guatemala are becoming the purveyors of technology, which is really cool. A $10 solar panel. This is going up February 2012. This is the last thing I'll probably cover here. This is a thermoacoustic engine. It uses waste heat from a wood stove. Instead of you getting solar panels from overseas, you can build a thermoacoustic engine, which is just a very simple piece of pipe. You heat one end, you keep the other end cold. It makes a sound wave in it. It's called the thermoacoustic effect. That sound wave can become very loud. You weld the pipe shut so you don't hear it, and you put a magnet in there, and the magnet vibrates. The magnet vibrating next to a coil of wires creates electricity, which is what we're using. Our goal is 20 watts for 20 bucks using muffler pipe. The woven wind turbine is a great project. This is a typical project of ours. It's hand in hand Guatemalans, Nicaraguans, and Americans working together. We were asked by a doctor in Guatemala to do to design some biomedical diagnostic technology. The problem is that 1,200 to 1,300 children are born in Guatemala with a congenital heart disease. He said, "What can you do for us?" And I said, he is a surgeon. He can solve the problem, but he can't diagnose everybody. So people in rural Guatemala go undiagnosed with this disease, and the prognosis is horrible for these kids. They're called blue babies, and if they don't get operated on within the first couple months of life, their prognosis is awful. Okay, I'll just leave it at awful. He will do all the surgeries for free if we can help him diagnose people in rural Guatemala. So we came up with a stethoscope combined with an MP3 recorder that works through an Android tablet to immediately send the files to his clinic, where they listen to the files and they can tell. We had them tested on, we had recordings down there, we took them down to Guatemala, and within about 4 seconds they were able to differentiate between different types of infant cardiac disease just by listening to the heartbeats. So this is a technology that will work. We're rolling it out this spring. We came up with a, I'm going too fast. We came up with a user interface that's based on icons, so that we can, these icons are understandable by 97% of the population in Bangladesh, Peru, the 5 different cultures around the planet. They've been tested. We're using these medical icons to run a tablet touchscreen computer that will set it up for our $400 USB ultrasound, spirometer, blood pressure gauge, our enhanced stethoscope, those sorts of things. These, I mean, 97% of illiterates in Bangladesh recognize that as an ultrasound. How did that ever get into the culture? I have no idea, but it works. I don't care. It's a tool, right? So we do medical records with it. We can put a solar panel on the suitcase that carries all the equipment. It's actually an attaché case to power it. These are the people that are designing this technology. It's a great group to work with. This is Reuben. He's on staff in Guatemala for us. If you ever go with us to Guatemala, you need to meet Reuben. He's a very important part of our larger family. So this sort of looks like the Last Supper, but it's actually just having a smoothie in Guatemala. We have a very good time when we're there. We focus a lot. We're doing green buildings. I cut these out of a different talk. We focus on the student experience. They work hard in Guatemala or Nicaragua when they're working with us. The last couple of days, the last day or two, we get to go to the lake. It's a beautiful lake. This is the student experience in Guatemala. And the process is to know your clients and design with your clients. Design failures, I have a really good talk on all the things we've done wrong, and we've done as many things wrong as right. So some other time, they're really the best. The war stories, the ones that got away are the best. So we design transformative technologies. Everyone here has the capacity to do this. We work with people who aren't designers. We work with people who aren't engineers. Everybody here has an education capable of doing this sort of work, okay? Wise up, you can do this. And we've worked with a lot of people over the years. This actually I have to shrink down and put another group around the perimeter of it because we have a lot more people working with us. And with that, I can say thank you.